Well, thank you for joining me today for our discussion on taxes with Don Zehner, CPA, and Ryan Muller, CPA, both of Zehner and Maloy Associates. Guys, you've been around here a long time, but Don, why don't you start? Why don't you just give us a kind of a brief description on your background?
Sure, Dave. I've been in the Logansport community since 1986, which if you want to do the math, that's about 32 years. And I've been in the accounting profession since 1980. Since that time, we've had probably, I suppose 5,000 different clients that we've worked on. And on a recurring basis, we have about 1,500. Received and passed the CPA exam in 1983. And I've been in Logansport since 1986 also, at the corner of 8th and East Broadway, across from Logansport Savings Bank.
So you've been there all that time?
Actually, I spent 10 years in the what is going to be soon the Logan Square apartments.
Right.
So we were there for about 10 years.
Okay. And Ryan, how about you? You look a little younger than Don, so have you been here since 1980 with him?
No, not quite. I'm born and raised in Logansport, and graduated Purdue University in 2004, and actually started with Don in 2003.
He only mentions that because of the Ohio State.
Well, he should though. He should. I'm not sure the last time Indiana beat the Buckeyes.
I didn't mention the Buckeyes, but if everybody knows that happened this weekend. So, been with Don since 2003, and
Wow.
passed the CPA exam about 4 years ago, and just been working my way up. Serving the clients that we have and that we've grown with over those years.
Excellent. Well, I tell you, it seems like you guys have one of the most difficult jobs with the never-ending landscape that's changed by Congress. You have a moving target each and every year. So what are some things that taxpayers can do right now to prepare for next tax season?
One of the easiest items right now that the IRS is really hot on, and that is reviewing your withholdings on your W-2. What we've seen this year is with the tax law change that was passed in December, but the new tax tables didn't come out until mid-February, and so we have and trusting the IRS did it correctly. They were going to modify those tax tables to compensate for the 2 months of previous withholding tables. So one of the things that really you need to do is take a look at your W-2 and see what those withholdings look like and how that's going to be projected into what your tax return may look like come the end of the year. Because with the gamut of tax law changes that have occurred, it is really one of those, Dave, that it depends whether the tax law change is helping you or hurting you, or to what degree those changes are affecting you. Have
you got a feel for the average taxpayer, Ryan? What you think, if they're helping or hurting, or you, Don?
I think it's just ever so unique personally, because
Really?
If you had a large number of exemptions, well, those are gone. If you itemized or didn't itemize, that would affect the impact. So I don't know. Do you have an opinion, Ryan, on our client base?
Yeah, I think that I agree with Don there that it really depends on your situation. I would say that if you're a fairly just average taxpayer, let's just say a couple W-2s and maybe a kid or two, we saw most of the impacts in the projections that we ran. $1,000 to $2,000 difference maybe on the average family tax return type situation,
Okay.
very finally jointly with a couple kids.
But it's hard to have a blanket statement saying everybody profited, everybody's paying more taxes. It's just on a case by case.
I would say that statement's probably true.
Okay. Both of you have been in the profession for a long time. What are some of the biggest mistakes you've seen, in tax preparation for people?
Well, for me, I think it has been one that, and this may seem like I'm patting my own self on the back, but I think a lot of people anticipate that paying for a professional tax preparation isn't warranted. You can get something out of the box or online. And I think that's a mistake, because our whole goal when we work with any of our clients is that we should be able to provide them either advice and insight to the future, or something in the past that's going to more than double in benefit the fee that they're going to charge. We're going to charge them. So if we charge them $100, we can find at least a simple way to save $200. And I think a lot of people think that's not the case. It's money down the drain. The other thing I think is people underestimate or undervalue their own time. They will spend an hour installing the software, an hour inputting the software, and then 2 or 3 hours reflecting on what were the questions they just asked me.
Right.
Because again, they're trying to use somewhat artificial intelligence, or at least a Q&A type of method to get to the right result. What we've seen in the past is that people deducting the same automobile on 5 different schedules, just missing things entirely, because again, we live in a world, every industry lives in a world in which words are very precise to that industry. And
Correct.
If you're not accustomed to that, you're not going to know what's actually happening. So I think that's number one item that I've seen. You kind of get a chuckle out of it, because someone will spend $100. Our average fee normally is $225, and most people have well over that invested in getting the software and their time, if they value their time at all. And they get no advice, just simply like Ryan said. Most of the clients last year, we were able to tell them thumbs up or thumbs down how the tax law was going to impact them, and to be cautious, because it may not be what you think it is. And again, our approach is that which. This is about the only time we crystal ball, Dave. You crystal ball every day. Our crystal balling was, here's what the tax law is, based on your situation staying very similar to the current year. This is how it impacts you. Thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever it may be. So, I think that has some value when you learn that in February, and not the following February when you got to write a check.
Well, before you go in, Ryan, that you actually took my next question away, which I think is very good, though, because go online, get a will, go online, and I would think also that if people are ever audited, you would add a significant level of expertise versus slick books. Because of the fact that there are certain ways you understand how the IRS works that certainly slick books wouldn't be able to add value to people.
That's a really good point, and one of the things that obviously you and I have obtained wisdom level of knowledge now after putting in 30-some years in the profession, and that wisdom also isn't that we can always crystal ball it perfectly in any way, shape, or form, but we have relationships, and that's what we've had, is relationships with IRS and Indiana Department of Revenue auditors. They know when they're talking to us, there's no smoke being blown their way. We want to get it done efficiently. We want to get it done accurately, and because of that, they respect us. We respect them, and it's just a higher, more efficient level of operation than you'd get if you're trying to do it yourself.
And I think that the IRS will oftentimes might send a letter, and they want to meet with the client, and clients can actually give you a limited power of attorney to act on their behalf and to answer what needs to be answered, and to not answer anything that would otherwise cause more consternation or more inquiry by the IRS.
Well, I would agree with that. I think it's this is a poor analogy to some certain extent, but you've seen people that have been on the witness stand, and someone will ask them a question, they'll answer it and then go on and
that's a great
spend
analogy.
20 minutes explaining this, that, and the other, that only makes it worse.
No, I think that's a perfect example. I think that's a perfect example, Don. How about you, Ryan? What are some of the biggest mistakes you see in tax preparation?
I think like Don said, I think the issue a lot of times we see is just that oversimplification of I think I can do it on my own and get a good result. And I think with the vastness of the tax law and as you mentioned, the ever changing of the tax law that we see. I was at a seminar early in my career, and the presenter said, as long as Congress continues to write tax code, we will be gainfully employed forever.
Right.
And as you see that with the current tax law change, but it's an ever moving target, and to understand all of those things that may affect you, and use those not in a corrupt way, but use those to your advantage to pay your share of the taxes that you need to pay. That's very difficult for someone to do and do effectively. And I think people think with the online versions and the software versions that you can get of these different tax programs, you can spend the $30 and you take a picture of your W-2 and it slaps it on the form and it files it, and that is level A compliance. But that's not necessarily all we have to offer, and I think that's where they can miss out is that, okay, yeah, I'm doing my level 1 compliance with the IRS to keep them off my back, but how am I using the tax code to take advantage of, or not take advantage, but to benefit my situation so that I'm keeping as much dollars at home as I can,
right.
Making the right decisions on charitable giving and those types of things, retirement savings. I know you in your last podcast, you guys talked about HSAs. So there's just a wide gamut of benefits that the tax law is related to, where you're not going to get that in an out-of-the-box software type situation.
Right. I remember my dad would always say, "Don't expect to knock on the door and that person to be saying, 'I'm from the IRS and I'm here to help you.'" You made some really good points on that. I wanted to ask you. You've got 1,500 clients. Obviously, you get new clients. When you're onboarding clients, when do you like to try to see them? Because obviously, you guys are hitting the road hard in January and February with these existing clients, and I'm sure you can onboard clients at that time. But is there a time you like to try to onboard a client? And when you do onboard a client, what do you like to have him, her, or they bring to you so that you're going to be able to give them some of that value prior to when you meet them again?
Yeah, I think the best time is of course outside of our traditional tax season. So if you come to us in January through April and need some help, yeah, you're correct. We're going to do our best to help you if we can and it's the right fit. But it's going to be a rush situation, and we're not going to be able to treat you like we want to and where we're going with the level of service that we provide. So anytime after April is the best time to come see us. And typically we ask you to bring in the last 3 years of your tax returns, because that's what the statute of limitation allows for changes and modifications if there's something that may benefit you, or we also like to warn you if there's something looming over your head of an error that we don't like to sleep with one eye open or any surprises.
Right.
So we like to review that, and we usually do that as part of our service. But yeah, and that gives us a chance that we can really sit down with you, learn about what your business is, what your goals are, what the plans are, and really look to see, is this a fit for us and for you, that we can have a lasting relationship to provide that service above and beyond just getting your tax return filed.
And I know you do a lot with the rural farm community. I imagine you've seen a tremendous change in the farm returns.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when I go to meetings with brokers from the left coast and the east coast, they don't have any kind of comprehension of just what a business farming is anymore. And I know you guys do a lot with that. Isn't that correct? Don't you work with a lot of farmers?
Oh yeah, we do and have for a number of years. The the size of the farming operations have just really kind of exploded exponentially since 1980 when I started. And they're a very sophisticated group. What's been really fun, at least for me, is that transition. You're starting to see farmers that are, relatively, Dave, your age, my age, and now you're seeing a son coming in that's 25, 35 in that type of situation. And the planning that goes into that father-son operation, it's really it's fun to watch. It's enjoyable to be part of, and it's very unique. And you have to, they talk about creative accounting. I'm not sure that our accounting's creative, but certainly the approach and the structure that we like to establish for each operation is more of a custom-made suit, not something off the rack. It really fits the people because everybody has a different personality and vision of where they're heading. Family size, is it multiple generations? What are we doing here? So I've really enjoyed that part of the agricultural side. It had 10 great years of where they just made lots of money, and they reinvested, doubled down on themselves. You see a lot of grain handling systems. That was something that we advocated when the time was right to be able to do that. It basically, you could turn inventory crop into a structure to handle the grain in the future and basically maintain or control your income taxes. Now it's a little more difficult because just the pricing of the crop has gotten to a situation where there aren't as many dollars to be made and the inputs are rather expensive. So there's the only inevitable thing in life is change, and how you adapt to that, and that you're aware of your strengths and your weaknesses relative to it. So really have enjoyed the agricultural side.
I know for me it's different than the W-2 business person because first of all, there's no such thing as a retired farmer. Secondly, you see their income going up constantly until they pass away, where a W-2 income they'll drop. And so whether you use a Roth IRA, whether you use an IRA, just how they can manipulate their income with guys like you. And there's a degree that's out there called a CFP, a Certified Financial Planner. And it kind of allows a broker, myself, to be an end-all to all. And I've never liked that because it always seems to me that it's like putting the executive, judicial, and legislative branch all in one. Because I like experts like you guys telling me this is what I think you should do, Dave, or an attorney saying this is how we should do the estate planning, and having three individuals look after one person because your expertise, the tax codes are way above me. I mean, I know whether someone should maybe use tax-free versus taxable income, but I know we have a synergy where we talk to one another about clients, especially farm clients. And so I appreciate the fact that some local.
I'd add just to that, I think that, the personality, the experience that makes you a broker and has made you a broker over the years is a personality that doesn't fit in being an accountant because, to a certain extent, we plan to the future, but it would be a misnomer to believe that we try to do anything like you do in terms of investment and predicting what's going to go up and what's going to go down. There's the old story that an accountant is a guy that goes out and counts the dead and bayonets the wounded. And there's some truth to that, is that we're always living a year behind. We say, we'll talk to a client and say, this year your taxes were this, this, and this, and they'll look at us confused and they go, well, we meant last year because we never lived this year till next year.
Right.
And I think that has a lot to do with the ability to interact and work on a team where you have the attorney, you have the investment advisor, you have the accountant. In fact, it's always amazing to me because there are a number of accountants out there that try to sell investments. And, it just amazes me because I couldn't do it, and I don't think anyone can and do a good job for you. There's just too much information in the world, and any one person that thinks they can wear 3 or 4 hats
Right.
is doing you a disservice.
Well, I can assure you they won't be on this podcast, John and Ryan. And you're right. And, in my industry, they talk about consolidating, having all under one roof. But I just think that there needs to be an arm length so that there isn't, our business is built on trust. I mean, your business, our business. And if that person perceives that there's some kind of collusion between the parties, it really makes it a bad deal. Before we leave, is there anything else you'd want to touch on, Ryan, that I have not hit inside of this segment?
That's a good question. If I could just hit on something that you just talked about there, I think one of the nice things about being a small community and the relationships that we have with you, Dave, and mutual clients we have there, and a lot of the attorneys in town, same way. It's nice that when we have an issue with a client that needs that expertise of a 3-pronged approach or a 2-pronged approach, where you need the accountant to talk to the financial advisor or talk to the attorney or all 3 for that matter. That's been a great relationship we've had in this community, and the benefit to the clients is great. I'm sure Don can tell you, and I've had my share even in my shorter term as an accountant, where you play the telephone game where you tell a client something, and then they go and they talk to their accountant or they talk to their attorney, and then the next thing you know, they come back and they bring back. You told them to get a black suit, and they come back with a brown suit. It's 3 sizes too big. And so, it's nice that you can have that professional relationship with the people that are in their corners, pulling for them, and that's been, I think, key to make our clients even more successful in what we've been doing. So.
Yeah. I think Logansport, for its size, its location, that we have excellent professionals in that area. You don't have to go to Indy, you don't have to go to Lafayette or Fort Wayne or South Bend or those carpetbaggers. You can use our services. So gentlemen, thank you very much for coming here, for joining us today. And for those listening out there, please visit the Workman Associates website, our YouTube channel, and our Facebook page, or feel free to contact us. Until again.